The man had been carrying the same memory for 3 years. A meeting, a room full of people, words spoken to him in front of everyone that he still heard in the quiet moments before sleep. Words he had never been able to unhear. He had tried to let it go. He had reasoned with himself, forgiven in his mind, told himself it no longer mattered. But the feeling remained. And everywhere he looked, in his new workplace, in his relationships, in the mirror, he could see the evidence of what that event had done to him. The same pattern, the same ceiling, the same quiet sense that he was the kind of person such things happened to. One evening, a friend gave him a single page of my teaching. Not a book, not a lecture, one page. On it were these words: "The past is not fixed. The past is an assumption, and assumptions can be revised." He did not believe it, but he was desperate enough to try. Within 30 days of beginning the technique I am about to give you, the man who had spoken those words reached out, unprompted, and the conversation that followed was, in the man's own words, the most significant exchange of his life. The past had changed, not in a newspaper, not in anyone else's memory, in consciousness. And consciousness is the only thing that was ever real. What that man discovered is the most misunderstood of all my teachings. And tonight I am going to give it to you completely. I tell you from my own experience, revision is not a coping technique. It is not a spiritual practice for healing emotional wounds, though it will do that too. Revision is the direct application of the law of assumption to time itself. Most people believe the past is sealed, that what happened, happened, and the only thing you can do is move forward carrying it. I am here to tell you that this belief is the very chain that keeps you bound. The assumption that your past is fixed is the assumption that produces a fixed future. In the next 27 minutes, I will give you the complete teaching on revision, what it is, how it works at the level of consciousness, and exactly how to perform it tonight. I will also show you something that very few people understand, how revising a single event from years ago can alter the entire trajectory of what is coming. Stay with me. This will change the way you look at every experience of your life, forward and back. Consciousness does not experience time the way the physical world appears to. In the 3D world, time seems linear, past, present, future, arranged like beads on a string. First this happened, then that, then the next thing. The past is behind you and cannot be touched. But consciousness, and you are consciousness, does not live in the 3D world. You live in the 4D. And in the 4D, time is not a line. It is a body. Every moment you have ever lived still exists. Every scene, every conversation, every experience, they are all alive simultaneously in the eternal now of consciousness. This is not philosophy. This is the precise truth that makes revision possible. When you revisit a memory from the past in imagination, when you re-enter that scene and change what happened, you are not telling yourself a comforting lie. You are performing a legitimate imaginal act on a living portion of consciousness. And because consciousness is the only reality, the changed imaginal act becomes the more real event. The 3D version, the one stored in your ordinary memory, was always only the shadow of whatever consciousness had impressed into it at the time. Revision impresses something new. But here is where it deepens. Every event in your life carries what I call a state. Not just a memory, a state, a mood, an assumption, a quality of feeling that you absorbed from the experience. When a thing happened to you that you call humiliating or defeating or heartbreaking, the outer event faded, but the state you absorbed from it remained. And that state, carry forward, became the lens through which you perceive every new situation. You began silently to assume you were the kind of person those things happened to. And the law of assumption, which makes no moral judgments and offers no exceptions, proceeded to crystallize that assumption into your experience, again and again and again. Not because you deserved it, not because the world was against you, because the state you carried was the instruction, and consciousness delivered its equivalent, faithfully, as surely as a seed delivers its plant. This is why life repeats itself. This is why the same pattern shows up in different places, different workplaces, different relationships, not because you are unlucky, because you are carrying a state, and the state is producing its equivalent every single day, whether you are aware of it or not. Now here is where it becomes truly extraordinary. If the state is the cause, and the outer event is only the effect, then changing the state changes the cause. Revision is not changing the story you tell at dinner. Revision is reaching into the living fabric of consciousness and altering the impression that was left there. When you revise with feeling, with full imaginative presence, when you not only see the new scene, but inhabit it, feel it, receive it as the event that actually occurred, you have changed the assumption at its root. The bridge of incidents begins to rearrange the present and the future to match the new state. Always, without exception. The law does not fail. It cannot fail. It is as mechanical as gravity and as faithful as the sun. In a moment, I will walk you through the exact mechanics of how to revise. But there is one critical thing I must tell you about why most people's revision attempts fail, and it is simpler and more correctable than you would expect. Let us fix where we are. Time in consciousness is not linear. Every past event is alive and revisable. Every event left a state, an assumption, and that assumption has been producing its equivalent in your ongoing life without your knowledge and without your permission. Revision is the technique by which you return to the living event, change the state, and allow consciousness to rearrange the world in accordance with the new assumption. Now, the single most important distinction in performing this technique correctly. The difference between revision that works and revision that leaves you feeling like you are just daydreaming. I will give you that distinction right now. The man I told you about at the beginning, the man who changed the professional humiliation and received a call 30 days later, described to me exactly what he had done in those 7 nights of revision. He said, I did not watch the scene like a film. I was in it. I felt the temperature of the room. I heard the specific voice of the man who had spoken. And this time, that man's face carried respect. He heard the exact words he had always deserved to hear. And then, and this is the detail that changed everything, he allowed the feeling to settle into his body before he opened his eyes. Not the excitement of receiving it, the normalcy of having it. the quiet, ordinary quality of a man for whom such respect was simply the natural state of his world, always already so. This is the first and most common failure point. People revise from the outside. They watch themselves in an improved scene, and they wonder why nothing shifts. You cannot revise from the outside. You must revise from the inside. You must be the person in the scene, not the observer of the person. Imagination is not the I. Imagination is the whole man. The second failure point is revision without feeling. You can run a new mental film 100 times, but if the emotional reality of the old scene, the shame, the anger, the defeat, is more vivid to you than the old scene, feeling of the revised scene, the old impression remains dominant. Consciousness responds to the most emotionally real assumption, not the most recently repeated image. Feeling is the secret, not performance, not volume, the quiet, steady, felt reality of the revised event. That is what presses the new assumption into consciousness. So how do you make the revision feel more real than the memory? You begin small. You do not start with the largest wound you carry. You do not go immediately to the event from childhood or the relationship that broke you. You begin with something recent, a conversation from this week that left a slight sting, a moment where you felt diminished, a result that came back wrong. You revise that. You feel the revised version as real. And when you notice the law working, when you see the outer world begin to move in correspondence, you will have built the inner certainty to revise the deeper events. Stop for a moment. Think of something from this past week that you wish had gone differently. One moment. A word you wish you had not said. A reaction you received that you did not deserve. A result that came back less than what you had assumed. That is your revision practice tonight. Not your biggest wound. That one moment from this week. I want you to close your eyes if you are in a place where you are able. Bring that moment to mind, but do not replay it as it happened. Pause at the entrance to the scene. You are standing at the door of the memory. Now step through that door into a version of the event that happened exactly as it should have. You say the right words. You receive the right response. The other person's place carries what you needed to see there. The moment resolves cleanly, naturally, the way things simply are when they go right. Feel the naturalness of it, not the relief, the normalness, as though this version was always the one that occurred, as though you are simply remembering it correctly now for the first time. Stay there for a moment. Let the body receive it. Let the feeling settle. This is revision. You have just performed it. Now I must tell you the thing that separates the people for whom this technique produces results from those for whom it remains an interesting concept: persistence. Not because the law is slow, not because consciousness requires convincing, but because you, your habitual self, will spend the following morning reasserting the old assumption. You will look at the current circumstances and read them as evidence that the revision was not real. You will have a conversation that pulls you back into the old state, and by nightfall, the fresh impression has been partially overwritten by the weight of habitual feeling. This is why revision must be a practice, not an event. Return to the revised scene over several nights, especially for the deeper wounds, not with anxiety, not with desperation, with the patient, deliberate certainty of a person who understands that the impression is deepening with each return. The new state is becoming more native, and the bridge of incidents is already being built in the unseen. Dare to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Persist in that assumption. The world must conform. It has no other instruction. We have covered what revision is, why it works, and the two critical mistakes that prevent it from working. We know how to enter a scene from the inside, how to cultivate the felt reality of the revision rather than the performance of it, and why persistence is the mechanism that completes the technique. What remains is the full practical system, 3 levels of revision practice that, used together, will clear your past, reshape your present, and allow you to revise your future before it crystallizes. I will give you all 3 right now. They are 3 levels of revision practice. I will give you all 3. The first level is the evening review. Every night before you sleep, ideally in the state akin to sleep, at that drowsy threshold, where the rational mind is already loosening, you review the day that has just passed, not to judge it, not to rehearse its successes or its failures. You scan the day for any moment that left a residue, any exchange that carried a slight weight, any moment where you assume less than the full reality of the wish fulfilled, and you revise it right there before sleep. You enter the moment in imagination, change it to what it should have been, feel the revised version as real. 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and let it go. This single practice, done consistently, prevents the accumulation of negative assumptions. You are not carrying the wounded states of today into the assumptions of tomorrow. You're ending each day clean. This alone, practiced for 30 days, will produce changes in your outer world that others will notice before you fully understand them. The second level is targeted revision. This is for the specific events, weeks, months, years back, that you can feel are still producing their state in your present life. You identify them not by the emotion they trigger, but by the pattern they have produced. If you keep encountering the same type of person, the same type of disappointment, the same ceiling that appears whenever you approach a certain level, there is an originating event, a moment when that assumption was first impressed. Sit with this question. When did I first feel this? When did I first assume I was the kind of person this happens to? Go there. Revise it. Revise it with patience, with feeling, with full imaginative presence. Take as many sessions as the depth of the event requires. It does not matter if the event was from childhood. It does not matter if decades have passed. It is alive in consciousness. It is revisable. And consciousness, which is the only reality, will honor the new impression. Now, here is where this teaching goes somewhere most teachers never take it. The third level is prospective revision. You do not only revise the past, you revise events that have not yet occurred, but that you fear will crystallize as the old pattern demands. An upcoming conversation that carries dread, a meeting where you expect to feel small, a result you anticipate will come back wrong because it always has. Before the event occurs, in imagination, in the state akin to sleep, you enter the scene as it should go. You are there. The outcome is the right one. The other person responds as they would respond to someone who carries the assumption of their wish fulfilled. The moment resolves in a way that is simply consistent with who you are now deciding to be. The law of assumption does not distinguish between memory and anticipation. Both are imaginal acts. Both are instructions given to consciousness. Revise the future before it arrives, and you have removed the old assumption's permission to crystallize it. You have given consciousness a new instruction for that moment, before the moment has had the chance to deepen the old state. This is how revision rewrites your future, not by removing free will, by exercising it. The operant power is yours. This is how you use it deliberately. Let us practice the third level together right now. Bring to mind something you are anticipating, something coming, tomorrow, this week, this month, that carries the charge of worry, or an expectation shaped by the old pattern. Soften your body. Let your jaw unclench. Let the shoulders drop. You are standing at the entrance to that future scene. Not the scene as you fear it will go, the scene as it should go. The scene that could only occur if the old assumption had been fully revised and the new one was native to you. Step through the door. You are there. In the room, on the call, reading the message. And everything is right. The words are the ones you needed to hear. The face across from you carries what you needed to see. The outcome is simply consistent with who you are. A person whose past is clean, whose assumptions are chosen, whose consciousness instructs the world rather than reacts to it. Feel the normalcy of it, not the victory, the ordinariness. This is simply how things go for you now. Hold it. Let the body receive it as fact. This is revision of the future, and consciousness will honor it. The man from the beginning of this video told me something I have never forgotten. He said, I realized I had been revising all my life, only in the wrong direction. Every night before I slept, I have been revisiting the bad things that had happened to me, replaying them, reinforcing them, making them more vivid, more real, more permanent with every repetition. I've been doing the technique perfectly. I had simply been using it to confirm my wounds. Revision was never new to him. He had been performing imaginal acts on past events his entire life. He had simply never been shown which direction to aim them. You have been revising all your life too. Every memory you return to in the quiet, every scene you replay in the moments before sleep, you have been pressing assumptions into consciousness, deepening states, instructing the law. The only question that has ever mattered is, which direction are you revising? Toward the wish fulfilled or away from it? The operant power has always been yours. Consciousness is the only reality. The state you occupy is the world you will see. Begin tonight. One moment from today, revised, felt, settled into before sleep. The world will rearrange itself. It has no other instruction. Your practice tonight, one moment from today, revised in the state akin to sleep. Feel the revised version from the inside, not as a film you are watching, but as a reality you are inhabiting. Let it settle. Let it be the last thing consciousness holds before the deep takes you. Tomorrow night, 1 moment. The night after, 1 moment. Build the practice before you reach for the deeper events. Let the law show you its own consistency first. Stay with this channel. Each teaching takes you 1 layer deeper into the complete law of assumption. I tell you from my own experience, the past is not a prison. It is a canvas, and you are the painter. Begin tonight. Close.